Hey, y'all, welcome to Book World, The Great Escape. I'm author CJ Peterson. My co-host over here is author Michael Scott Clifton. Today we have a wonderful guest down below. Wendy Jones is joining us, and we'll be talking to her in just a few minutes. Before then, Mike, how is your week gone?
It's been a pretty good week. Got 2 inches of rain, and we had a small lake below our house now, and I've tongue-in-cheek called it Lake Clifton is now open for business. I put that post on on Facebook, and so far, haven't had any anglers or people, motoring their boats up there. So it's receded somewhat, but we've had a real wet spring so far, and and but it is warming up, and managed to do some work outside before our floods come. Next week, I have actually 3 book events, and on Tuesday, April the 1st, April the 1st day of April, I'll be at Lindale High School, and I'll be speaking to the high school creative writing class.
Oh, fun.
And got an invite about a month or so ago. And anyway, looking forward to that. Thursday is the quarterly first of the year, though, Longview Art Walk. And I and several other authors, we usually set up there in the Vera Bank in historic downtown Longview. And it's always, we always have fun. And then this Saturday is Dalton Days at the old downtown Longview. Well, they will be reenacting a bank robbery back in the day. And it was kind of a Wild West sort of situation there in Longview. Have a booth there, and we always enjoy that as well. And then April 27th, which is a Saturday, NetWo, Northeast Texas Writers Organization, will be holding their annual Writers Conference. Mm-hmm. And that will be at the Northeast Texas Community College. And that's just right down the road from where I live. And I will be one of the presenters this year, along with Mike Wigington and my mind just went blank. Lisa.
C.I. Chevron.
Yeah. C.I. Chevron. Lisa Simmons, i.e. C.I. Chevron. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a busy month.
Fun. It sounds great. So far, mine, we had spring break last week from college. I'm going to college, so taking 15 credit hours, which is where I currently am, because I had to take a test at 1:30 and got out at like 3:15, not enough time to get home. So we're coming live to you from my car on a college campus. So I did have a procedure last week. We talked about my knee issues going on. I actually go tomorrow to ortho to find out if my hip has to get replaced. So there's some tears. There's like a tear in a tendon that's in the wrong place, and the hip is bone on bone. So fun times walking around a college campus. Love that for me. As far as the next event I will be at Longview. It's the East Texas Comic-Con. It's going to be in Longview, Texas, the first weekend in May. I'm going to be that streak you see running across the floor, because I help run the floor on the Comic-Cons that I attend. So that'll be fun. I'm super excited about that. Some great guests are in the lineup, including Kevin Sorbo, who's one of my favorites to work with. So excited for that. In the meantime, I'm plugging away at college and hope to get enough of a break to keep writing in there somewhere. So it's a daily thing. But I'm going to school, Wendy, you will appreciate this, because her genre is crime fiction. I'm going to school for forensics and psychology.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah. So I get to study all that fun stuff that you get to write about. So you do crime fiction. Can you tell people kind of a general overall of what it is that you do, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm always happy to talk about what I write. First of all, I just want to start by saying it's Wendy H. Jones, and you need to remember the H in the middle of my name, because otherwise, if you look me up on Amazon, you're going to get some woman that wrote The Sex Lives of English Women. If you miss the H out, and there's no sex in my books. That's the first thing. We need to
Wendy H. Jones. Remember the H. It's crucial.
Remember the H. It's crucial H, that one. It really is. It's not me being fussy. It's just you're going to end up with the wrong thing and think there's no crime in this. What am I looking at? What am I reading? I don't think there's many dead bodies, and I hope there aren't. That's for sure. Anyway, I started off writing crime fiction, and my books are gritty crime fiction, crime thrillers. Um, the Detective Inspector Shauna Mackenzie mysteries were my first series, and there's now 8 books in that series. They're all set in Dundee in Scotland, and D.I. Shauna Mackenzie is a bit. She's smart, she's sassy, she's funny. She's a bit smart and a bit sharp. She's a mixture of things. And when we first meet her, she's got a boss from hell, a team that are scrapping with each other, and a serial killer on her hands. So she's not
Oh
having a
no.
good day, really. So, so what's unusual about my books is they're seen from the D.I. Shauna Mackenzie's are seen from 2 different points of view. So you get to see it from the police point of view and the serial killer's point of view. So
Oh.
you get to see what they're doing and why they're doing it, but you don't know who they are until the end. I always have to say until the end because people go, never? And I'm like, no, you eventually find out. Then I've got another series called Cass Claymore Investigates. And that's she's a Scottish Stephanie Plum is Cass Claymore. So I just started out thinking, well, what if I could do a Stephanie Plum that was in Scotland, really, and a bit different? So Cass Claymore is a red-headed motorbike riding ex-ballerina who inherits a private detective agency and accidentally hires an ex-convict dwarf and her granddad,
Oh
as you
no.
do. So it's just a load of capers. Nobody knows what they're doing, including Cass Claymore. They're all making it up as they go along. In fact, the only person that actually knows what they're doing is the ex-con dwarf, because is he an ex-con or not? Is he giving out these bad ways? He says he has, but who the heck knows?
Sounds like
Then,
fun.
so yeah, I've got a young adult series that I was asked by a publisher to write, but they said to me, "Oh, have you got an idea that you would like to pitch for young adults?" And I went, "Oh, yes." And they said, "Oh, well, pitch it to us." I was like, "Oh, shoot, I'm going to have to think of something now." So I didn't pitch it to them, and I got a 3-book series for that. That's out of print at the moment because it's going to a new publisher.
Hmm.
And then I was asked to write children's picture books about a baby water buffalo that escaped from a buffalo farm in Fife in Scotland. And he was running around on his own for 2 weeks. And the BBC, which is the British Broadcasting Corporation, got involved looking for him, and they called him Bert. Then I was asked to write picture books about him. So we've got little Bertie the Buffalo picture books. That's not enough. I also write non-fiction books for authors. So in the Writing Matters series. So there's 3 in that so far. Marketing Matters, Motivation Matters, and Creativity Matters, and soon to be Non-Fiction Matters. So there you go. That's
Very
taken up
nice.
minutes now. So we're finished.
So for those listening and watching, she actually is in Scotland.
Yeah.
So in case you didn't pick up on what she was saying or her accent, which is awesome.
Yeah.
She's a super fun lady. We've been friends for a while on Facebook. That's how we connected, and we have a couple mutual friends. So it's kind of fun to see her when she pops into the US, which you're going to be back in the US again when?
Possibly in November at Author Nation in Las Vegas, which is a big conference there. So I'm
Okay.
hoping to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So when you do your writing on crime fiction, I'm learning things from the police side of things.
Mm.
So, you know, as authors, we're kind of a little bit schizophrenic anyway, but you're literally writing the police and the serial killer side. How
Mm.
do you do that?
Well, to be honest, my brain is a really odd place to be. Um, in terms of the police, we have Police Scotland, which covers the whole of Scotland. We don't have local police anymore. It's Police Scotland, although they are set locally. And we've got an HQ in Dundee, so we've got a big police station. But somebody from Police Scotland, my local police sergeant, came round and he spent 5 hours in my house telling me all about the Scottish police and what they did and what the CID did, or what's now called a mobile incident team. And he told me all about that. And then at the very end, he said, do you know what? Write what you want, because what we do is really, really boring. He said, really boring. He said, all we do is paperwork. And like in Scotland, the police are not armed. The police do not have guns. Nobody in Scotland has guns, yeah, unless
Oh,
you're a farmer to protect your flock or you do shooting. as in you go to a rifle range and you're a sports shooter, yeah, to go in the Olympics or something.
Hmm.
So you're not allowed guns. So the police aren't even armed, except we do have teams that will go in their specialist firearm teams if needed. Yes, so they can be armed at specific times. Well, of course, my police, when they're chasing a serial killer, can't turn into a specialist team. So I just make my own team the specialist team. So I have guns in it at the end, which is unusual. So things like that. And then the serial killer, I was actually a nurse by background. And although I only did 8 weeks psychiatric training, I read every psyche book in creation. And you're like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So, you get a real feel for it. And I think, to be honest, I think all crime writers are just frustrated serial killers anyway. So, you know,
There's that fine line that we
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
teeter.
It's either turn into a serial killer or write crime books.
One pays better than the other,
Yeah,
so.
precisely. And, it's legal if you do it that way.
Yeah.
They don't really like it if you
We're
do it the other way.
we're all on watch lists,
Oh.
but it's at least legal. They
Yes,
know that we're not serial killers.
Well,
precisely.
Wendy, my wife is a big fan of the BBC, and the British detective mystery thrillers, and of course, you said DI, and I know that's the
Inspector.
detective inspector. So, question I had is, you're on Amazon, and I'm sure you've got an audience. You've built yourself an audience there in Scotland and England. So, do you have an audience? Do you have much of an audience in the United States? And do you tailor your novels to a certain audience? For example, uh, do you have any books or series that are more inclusive of, like, for the example, the United States, where every policeman has a gun, as opposed to in Scotland, where you say no one owns a gun? So, do you try to target that audience, or do you pretty much keep it the way it is there in Scotland when you're writing your thrillers, your crime dramas?
I pretty much keep it to Scotland. I have a huge following in America and a huge following in Australia. People love my books in America. Half the time I'm selling more in America than I am in Britain. And I think a lot of people in America like the fact that the police don't have guns. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying that. I'm talking about readers, not the actual people, because I can't speak for what happens in America because I'm British. But I think people just like crime fiction regardless. Now, one of my books is set half in Scotland and half in America, and it's called Killer's Curse. And about halfway through the book, my team go out to New Orleans, and they then work with the New Orleans police. Now, I'm not a big fan of, we've got to get them out and they take over and solve it because that's ridiculous. The New Orleans police are perfectly capable of solving their own crimes without Scotland stepping in. But they're working on a joint case. And it moves to America. So some of my team go out there and work with the American police, the New Orleans police. And they actually take over as the lead in that book towards the end, because obviously they need to take the lead because we can't. So I've done it that way. So that's a bit different because, of course, they have a gun slapped in their hand the minute they arrive. Here you are, here's your gun. And they're like, whoa, and
What do I do with this?
What do I do with it? But of course, we work through that, and they're shown how to use it. They're taken to a rifle range, a pistol range, and they're shown what to do, and they're told they have to carry a gun. So I do it correctly when I'm in America, but when I'm in Scotland, I do it correctly for Scotland. And I think readers, to be honest, the same as when British readers read crime fiction, police procedural set in America, and everybody has guns, we just accept it. And I think readers are more accepting than we think, really. That's my
Now,
view.
the way that the different police are run, how did you
Mm.
do your research to determine that, especially since you don't live in like New Orleans?
Oh, I was out in New Orleans and I just went and spoke to the police. That was the
Mm.
easiest way of doing it. I'm a great believer in going to the source. And I know people that have been in the American police, so they give you advice as well. Um, they were. I knew the breakdown of who it was, and of course, good old Google will help you as well in terms of the rank structure in specific places. The biggest thing I had to get my head around, because we literally have Police Scotland. That's it. We have one police force for the whole of Scotland. In America, honest to goodness, I went to where was it? I was Washington D.C. And every time I turned the corner, it was a different type of police. You
Hmm.
had the sheriff, you had the the White House police, you had the Capitol police, you had the. I'm like, so I spoke to them all and said, "What do you do?" Getting your head around that is quite hard.
I was like, how
And
do you figure out whose jurisdiction this is?
precisely. I was like, but they were all lovely and everybody's willing to talk, and that's what I find, that people are happy to talk about what they do. And as long as you're respectful and ask questions, Although I often wonder when I was speaking to all these police who were actually guarding anything, because they're all chatting to me.
Well, I know
um,
that there's on Facebook as a writer, if you're good, you can find them. There are certain groups where there's law enforcement from all over the
yeah,
world. So, like, we can go in as writers and ask them questions. We just have
yeah,
to establish where it is, when it is, and what it is exactly we're looking for.
yeah, yeah.
And they're happy to help. You just got to find them.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
how
they're
do you?
great. I'm in one of those. I'm in a fireman's one as well.
Hmm.
So what was the inspiration for? Because I know CJ and I get asked this a lot too. What was the inspiration for some of the characters in your books?
Most of them just come to me, to be honest. I'll come up, we'll say, well, I wanted a female detective. And she was showing a cloud to start with, until I realized I was at something as a reader, and an author was talking, the wonderful Lynn Anderson, who's an amazing Scottish writer, extremely highly regarded and well known worldwide. I discovered her character was called Rona MacLeod, and I thought, well, this all sounds a bit too close, so I changed it to D.I. Shona Mackenzie, because it was, you don't want something too closely. But what I do is I interview my characters, and I interview them. I ask them all 100 questions. The main characters. I don't ask somebody that's just wandering in off piste and appearing. So I ask them 100 questions about themselves, and then you get to know more about them. But the other thing that I find is that characters will just stroll in unbidden. So, for example, in book 2, Killer's Craft, a couple of Russian thugs just stroll into Russian mafia, just stroll into my book without a by your leave and announce that they're there. And I'm like, okay. And they're still there in book 8, getting in the way, and I can't get rid of them. They're still there in book 9. I'm like, when are you pair going to disappear? Nobody asked you to join me. And then in the Cass Claymore books, Quill, who's the ex-con dwarf, his name is Cameron McCulleran, but he gets called Quill. He's very dapper and very well dressed and charms all the ladies. All the women love him. And honest to goodness, he was not meant to be in the book. He just appeared and he went, "I'm your character." And I went, "No, you're not." And he said, "I am." I said, "Oh, well, you can be somebody." No, 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 I'm a main character. So he's literally Cass Claymore's sidekick. Yeah. Nobody wanted him there, but he's there, and the women love him. The women in real life love him. They all want to marry him. And I'm like, I didn't even, he just appeared and told me who he was. So I don't know where they come from. They just turn up,
Sounds
to
Well,
be
like
and
honest.
not a
sounds
lot
like
of people understand that aspect of writing,
Yeah, yeah,
because there are planners and there are pantsers.
yeah.
Us
yeah.
pantsers kind of understand it a little bit more than the
Yeah.
planners do.
Mm,
Or those who are just readers, like, they don't understand the fact that half the time these characters just come in on their own. Yeah, look, I did a
mm.
thumbs up. They
They're
come
great.
in on their own, and you have no control. Pretty much, you are just there to write. The characters are what's
Yeah,
guiding your
yeah,
story. You're just along for the ride. Like, for me, whenever I start a story, I never know how it's gonna end. The characters
mm,
just take it and run with it, and there are certain characters that I put in there as minor that are like, "No, no, no, I'm staying. We're here." And they turn
yeah.
out to be great characters.
Yeah, I think the best characters are the ones that turn up like that. I mean,
Right.
with Chris Claymore herself, what I wanted to do was get somebody that was crazy. So I just sat down and thought, what's the craziest thing I can do here? And I thought, well, I'll have her as an ex ballerina and running a detective agency, because that's unusual. And then I thought, oh, why not just stick her on a motorbike? And at the time, the reason she's got red hair, a friend of mine, her daughter was having real difficulty with being bullied because she had red hair. And I thought, I'm going to make a character that has red hair and is a real kick-ass woman, even though she doesn't know what she's doing. But nobody's going to bully her because she's in charge.
Well, most people, I can honestly say, tend to not bully redheads because we're known as feisty. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So
never
when
stay away from us. They think we're crazy, but that's okay.
so Wendy, you said you have written several books for authors, one of which I believe you said was about marketing.
Yes. Absolutely.
So is there a difference to the people who are watching our podcast? Is there a difference in the way you would market a book in Scotland, Ireland, the UK, as opposed to in the United States or Australia or any other country? So is there a big difference, or do you usually use the same format or model?
It's absolutely the same model. Books will be sold as books wherever you are. If people are readers, they're readers. If they read your type of book, they read your type of book. Doesn't matter where they live in the world. I've sold books all over the world. I get messages from people going, "Oh, I've just read your book," and they're in Africa, or they're in one of the ex-Eastern Bloc countries. They're in Eastern Europe, and you're like, people just like books. So to market your book, I think, is just be yourself, and humor sells books as well. If you're funny, people will buy books because they laugh, And when I tell them about Cass Claymore, they burst out laughing, or I'll say something like, because they'll look at you, I can see them looking at the books, and there's all these really gory covers at one end, and then it's fluffy buffalo at the other because it's got a soft toy to go with it. So there's, and there's like they're going, and I go, look, I can cover you from the cradle to the grave, and they burst out laughing. So marketing, it's just be yourself, find something that's uniquely you, and chat to people. It's networking, it's chatting, it's getting to know people. And it's the same on social media. It's building up a network, it's building up fans, and then your fans will sell your books for you. So you'll find yourself being tagged on various social media platforms, go, "Oh, I've just read this book and it's amazing and everybody's got to read it." And you're like, "Thank you very much. That's what we like." And that's how it sells, word of mouth as well. So it's being nice to people, being pleasant, and supporting others, because invariably they'll support you. If they don't, that's their drama, not mine. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I've been to America numerous times. I did a 3-month book tour last year, and I mean, in America, there is a difference. I'll tell you why. Because I wouldn't wear my Highland dress in Scotland, because everybody would just go, "Why are you wearing your Highland dress?" But in America, if I wear my Highland dress, everybody's like, "You're Scottish," because it's novelty, yeah? Mm-hmm. And the minute I open my mouth, because I've got a Scottish accent, people like it because they like to chat about Scotland. So I will talk about Scotland. I don't talk about my books. I just talk about Scotland. And they'll say they're Scottish. We'll chat about where they came from. And invariably, they buy books. So it's find what your unique selling point is. And you need to stick to that. You need to use that unique selling point wherever you are in the world appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So we've talked about your books, and kind of part of what makes you different is the fact that you, in the one series, do it from both perspectives. What makes it different in the other books?
Well, I don't think there's many books that have got an ex-con dwarf as a main character. That's for sure.
That's true. That is definitely true. Your characters are definitely creative.
Yeah, the characters are a bit different, and because it's Scottish humour as well. For example, I said I wanted it to be a Scottish Stephanie Plum, but you couldn't have a Scottish Stephanie Plum, because what happens to Stephanie Plum couldn't happen in Scotland. Nobody would take it seriously in Scotland. We all accept it because of where it is. I mean, for example, if I blew up cars every 2 minutes, they'd be like, "We haven't got enough cars in Scotland for you to be doing that, Wendy." That's a big relief. We'll run out of cars soon, And they're already telling me that there's nobody left to kill in Scotland because I've already killed them all in my serial killer books. But Cass Claymore is just crazy. I mean, it takes in aspects of Scotland. Like in the first book, we've got a laird, which is like an earl, a lord. you know, and we've got castles, and so they're all uniquely mine because they're different. They take up aspects of a lot of different things. It's cozy mysteries, and to be honest, we're not huge in cozy mysteries in Britain either. We love reading them, but nobody really writes that many, you know. So I I have cozy mystery because I like them. I like writing them. And by the way, just to say that I am actually, I own a publishing house called Scott and Lawson, and I publish my own books through it. However, my Creativity Matters books was by other people, so I have published other authors. I bought chapters off of people, and I'm about to start a series of cozy mysteries called A Right Cozy Crime with a word in the middle. So the first one is going to be A Right Cozy Christmas Crime. Then there's going to be A Right Cozy Culinary Crime. And
Nice.
then a right cozy historical crime is going to be the third one. And I've got some for others as well. But it's anthologies. So people are actually going to be in the anthologies, and I'm going to be publishing them. So I've got a publishing house as well for cozy mystery anthologies because I love cozy mysteries. I love
Very cool.
thrillers. I like cozy mysteries as well.
So we're kind of running a little bit low on time. If you had advice for somebody who wants to specifically write crime fiction, what would it be?
Well, first of all, I would say read crime fiction, read cozy mysteries, read every possible type of crime fiction you ever can, and then read wider than that. Read out of read romance, and you're like, why? No, read chick lit, read fantasy, read everything because you will soak yourself in the words. And you will soak a lot of people will say, oh, I can't read crime fiction, I'm writing crime fiction, and I'll end up taking other people's ideas. That's not what happens. There's only ever been 7 books written in the world, and we're all recreating them anyway. You know, the first 7 books that were written in all these genres were written, and then we're all just doing our own version of it. So read as much as you can, and then write as much as you can, and be curious. Be curious is the biggest one. I mean, you will get an idea just from a snippet in a newspaper or a magazine or something you hear on the television. I wrote an entire book called The Haunted Broch. And for those of you, that's a great name, isn't it? Broch.
That
And a
is
broch,
cool.
for your American listeners and everyone that doesn't live in Scotland, I should say, not just America, even the English. A broch is an old dwelling. It's a Pictish house. Yeah. So from the time of the Picts, it's a house. And I saw something in a newspaper locally. It was only 3 lines, and it said Scotland's lost broch. And I was like, how the devil can you lose a broch? It's
What is
massive.
it?
It's a house. It's a house. It's a
Okay.
dwelling, a house. Yeah. So how the heck can you lose a house? And I basically thought, well, I need to look into this. And we really did lose a broch. And it was a lady called Christian McLagan lost it. She didn't lose it. She found it. And then nobody would believe she'd found it because she was a woman and it was Victorian times. So she said the Victorian equivalent of get stuffed, and it just remained hidden. And they've recently found it again. So I wrote an entire book out of this, a young adult mystery around this broch. That we managed to lose in Scotland. You know, how the heck can you lose a broch?
How
But we
I was gonna
know.
say, how do you lose it?
Well,
And then
she
find it and then
discovered
lose it again.
it was an archaeological discovery, but basically, because she was a woman, the Royal Society of
Antiquities.
Antiquarians, that's the word I'm looking for. Antiquarians, sorry, it's late at night for me. They said, you're a woman, so you can't have found this. So they never ever dug it out. So she just stopped talking about it, and it disappeared again for another, 100 years. And that was what happened. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Wendy H. Jones. For those who are looking for her, make sure to get that H in there, or you could find yourself looking at the wrong person. Check out her mysteries, and because they give a really unique perspective. I'm kind of gonna want to check out the ones that are like the dual-minded cop and serial killer too, because that intrigues me. But you can find more about her on her website, which is www.wendyh wendyhjones.com. For those that are listening, www.wendy, the letter H, and then jones.com. Next week, we're going to be talking to John Newstead from the Longview Book Club. So same time, same place. We're going to have him join us and talk about what he does there and what stuff he brings to the Longview area. So in the meantime, everybody, have a great week. Wendy, thank you so much. You were a
Yeah.
treat.
Thank you.
Bye.